so that we can, and we record just to share this with anyone who's not able to make it, but wants to see what we're all talking about. And our theme for this week is going to be the conference and some debriefing on the conference. And we'll get a chance to share some takeaways. So if you were at the National Main Street Conference in Boston with us, then you'll be able to share some of your takeaways. And if you weren't there, you'll be able to hear what's going to be happening across the state in Maine and different communities. And I'll share a few of the takeaways that MDC had as well. I know we might have some more folks joining us, but I know I heard from folks that some will be watching the recording since they're getting their vacations started, which is excellent. We've got a great group here. And since we've got a full room, let's do just a quick round of introductions, because we've got some folks who don't typically join these monthly Zooms. So let's do quick introductions, just name and your position and location. And I'm Sylvie Piquet, and I'm program director with the Maine Downtown Center. Ann Ball is in Croatia as we speak, so she's not able to join us for this one, but she'll be amply embarrassed that I, announced that to everyone. So let's see, Deb, why don't you kick it off?
Deborah King, executive director of the Brunswick Downtown Association.
Dale.
Dale Dowdy, I'm the director of planning at Maine DOT.
Cara.
Cara Romano, director of Heart of Ellsworth in Ellsworth, Maine.
Mary.
Mary Hastings. I'm actually the small business advocate for the Sanford Regional Economic Growth Council.
Amanda.
Which one?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Belfast.
Amanda Cunningham, executive director of Our Town Belfast.
Amanda Bath.
Amanda McDaniel, director of Main Street Bath.
Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Bonig. I'm the downtown coordinator here at the City of Auburn, and we are exploring the Main Street program.
Scott.
Good morning, everyone. I am Scott, the president of Norway Downtown and on the advisory council for the Maine Downtown Center.
And EJ.
Morning, everybody. EJ Roach. I'm the Director of Economic and Community Development for the City of Old Town.
And Bill.
Good morning. I'm Bill King. I'm from Bath, former Bath business person. I'm on the advisory council, have been since day one, and was a founder of Main Street Bath and Main Street in the state of Maine.
And Nancy.
Hi, I'm Nancy Ketch. I'm the community development director with the town of Fulton.
And Carrie.
Hey, good morning. I'm Carrie Tyson, the executive director at Portland Downtown and on the advisory council.
Great. All righty. So as I mentioned, we're going to kick it off and really take this time to share takeaways from the conference. I also want to put it out there that if you either have done some kind of debrief with either your staff or your board about the conference, if you want to share just kind of that structure that you had, whatever way that you did that kind of sharing, I think it's always interesting to share how we, boil down all these great ideas that come from a big conference into like tangible steps, because, of course we get hit by reality when we come back from these conferences that are so energizing and inspiring and motivating. You got all these ideas swimming around, and then, the day-to-day hits, and it's easy for them to, take a backseat or kind of fly to the back of the brain. So I'd love for us to share 2 takeaways from the conference that whether they're, kind of bigger themes or they're more tangible, nitty gritty, whatever 2 takeaways are that really are bubbling to the top for you. And if you did have some kind of, way of debriefing with your board or with your staff or with your committee, with yourself, feel free to share that, but no pressure. If you're here to learn ways of debriefing, then there's no pressure to share that, and you can hopefully glean some good ideas. Given the size of the group, let's try to keep it to about a 2-minute share out, just so we have enough time for everybody. And then we'll, at the end, if you are like, I want to hear more about that, you'll be able to, find a time to connect with that person offline. And let's see, boiling it down to 2 takeaways is tough, isn't it? Because I've got in front of me a list of more, and I want to share some of the takeaways that I had, and then that our Maine Downtown Center team decided on. We really, in doing some quick share, our process was me, Perry, and Ann doing kind of a quick share of like, okay, what are the different topics, kind of popcorn style of just popping them all out there. And we realized that we had a few different buckets that were like, okay, this is our entrepreneurship ecosystem bucket. This is our kind of like DEI bucket. This is our like reporting impact bucket. Those were common themes that came out of it. So then it was helpful for us to able to kind of then collect all the notes from different sessions into those buckets. And our next step in the process is then really setting some timeline to some of the action items that came out of those buckets. And knowing that we've got kind of more notes from each of those sessions to refer back to. Definitely one of our takeaways was transformational strategies. And this is something that we are aware of, that through the assessment process and talking to many of you about transformational strategies that we're aware of, there's a whole mixed bag in terms of comfort level and understanding and experience with creating transformational strategies. So that's something that we're going to be working on in this year, is really looking at how can we do some educational sessions around transformational strategies, because there were some great exercises and takeaways from the conference that I think will really help inform how we can have like really great transformational strategies that are like action oriented and really helping to guide your work and not just feeling like something you kind of have to get done. But because it will be part of the 2024 assessment, since Main Street America will be doing those assessments. So, or whenever the next assessment is. And let's see, the other big one for us is definitely converting data into reporting impact and value of the Main Street program. And similarly, I think that really was a big takeaway for us, because we've heard from each of you and others as part of this program that that impact of downtown, whether it's communicating it to a municipality, whether it's communicating it to constituents, community members, however you're communicating, whoever you're communicating it to, it can be hard to convert that data that we're collecting into that impact, because so much of it is so anecdotal and place-based, and you can kind of create a narrative around it, but some folks need those tangible numbers and return. So that's another area that we're going to be using some of what we learned from the conference in this year, and setting some better strategies around that to support you all in it. And we were really blown away by there being 60 folks at this conference. We had 2 Main Street presenters, Amanda McDaniel and Delilah is on the road today, so she wasn't able to make it to this, but Delilah and Megan, both from Biddeford, were able to present as well. And I believe those were our only 2. Is that right? I'm not missing anyone else who presented, did I? Okay. So that was really awesome to see. So thank you also for making it down and bringing your staff or board members. I know it's a big haul, but it's so great for your individual communities as well as for our state as well. So we were excited to see that. And let's see, who wants to kick it off? Again, I think everyone's maybe, hi, Tammy. Tammy from Gardner is here. And Tammy, we just did quick intros. That's why I'm calling you out. I'm going to reiterate, we're going to do 2 takeaways from the conference. And if you want to share kind of the structure that you did for debriefing the conference and all of your learnings, whether that was an internal process or that was something you did with your committee or board or staff, is there a way that you kind of boiled down your buckets or whatever it was that your strategy for turning those takeaways into action items? Who wants to kick off sharing? Is that Deb?
Sure.
Thanks.
Well, I think the 2 main takeaways from the conference for the Brunswick Downtown Association was our chair attended a succession planning workshop. And because I've resigned effective June 23rd, I'm actually retiring and moving. So it's a great thing that he actually went and he knew about my resignation at that point. He brought back a great spreadsheet. So and we're going to implement it right across the board in case anyone kicks off. We'll be able to still operate efficiently. Also, we have a big streetscape redesign project going on in our downtown area. It's supposed to start this summer, so there was a great workshop there on how to get through it and ensure that your local businesses are impacted as less as possible, and just to make it through there. So that was the two big takeaways from us. And we had a debrief at the board meeting just earlier on this week. 6 of our board members, plus the economic development director and the BDA staff, were in attendance at the conference. So people were sharing ideas all over the place. So it was good.
Thanks, Deb. And as we continue, if we do have other folks popping on, let's just, before you share, give your name again, kind of role and location, just as a reminder. And then if folks hear something that they're like, oh, I want to talk to that person more about it, they'll kind of have the context. Who wants to pop in next? Go ahead, Amanda McDaniel.
I'll just say speaking was so much fun and wonderful, and has already, blossomed out further from just that experience. That could have been like peak and then coming down off of that for me, both professionally, for my own development, and also for Main Street. But I'm receiving emails from people who attended the presentation wanting the slides. And I was able to speak about it in summary at Rotary, and some of the information that I had compiled for the presentation about the gift of bath is going to be very effective and important for us in going to our municipality and asking for further funding in future. So really, in essence, having this conference, putting together these slides, making this presentation is hopefully going to perpetuate the further success of our program in the downtown. So I'm just going to call that 2 takeaways. And I don't have any report out or anything other than my director's report that I do for all of our board meetings. So we have a board meeting at the end of April that I'll have just a regular, I'll add in what I learned and some stuff, pictures and everything there. We have, this is a tough time of year, springtime, to be pulled away for anything. So prep leading up to leaving for Boston and then coming back and handling everything that's in the works right now is a real struggle. So there really isn't a lot of time to sit down and hash it out with everybody. I'll just say that. Springtime's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think board report is a great way. It's something you're already doing, and that's a great way to translate that information. Thanks. Who's ready to share out next?
Great,
I'm
happy to share out. So my name is Cara. I'm the director of Heart of Ellsworth. This was our first conference. We are only an affiliate, so for us it was very eye-opening. We had 4 board members attend, as well as 1 staff person. And I have to say, as it being my first conference ever, and sort of as being a fairly new organization, we're about 7 years old, the experience for the board was very different than my personal experience as the executive director. I didn't really realize partway through, I think the board was sort of very surprised at sort of how quiet I was and how sort of introspective I think I was. And I didn't realize for quite a while that I was really in a place of being a bit overwhelmed, because we as directors or people who are in this sort of live it every single day. And the 4 board members that attended, it was oftentimes the first time they had heard things that we've been hearing, we as individuals have been hearing for, 6, 7, however long you've been in your position, years. And so there were a lot of aha moments for them. And for me, it was a lot of affirmation, and realizing, wow, we've really done a lot, and the board being very surprised at sort of how far we've come in somewhat of a short period of time. And I would say that their excitement was totally palpable, whereas for me, it was a little bit of overwhelm. And so trying to sort of like kind of balance that energy was tough in the moment, but sort of more towards the end, I started to feel like some of the tracks and the learning was really, I was able to start to absorb once there was sort of conversation around that. So there was a lot of bonding that went on, and I would say that for the board members, it was really exciting to see them being able to have a lot of ideas and excitement around the work that we're doing. So.
Thanks, Cara. I know what you mean by that overwhelm. It was my first one too. Who's ready to share out next? Thanks, Nancy.
Sure, thanks. I'm Nancy I work for the town of Holton. I'm the Community Development Director. And years ago, I worked at the Chamber and actually worked as a marketing director for the downtown. So it was my second conference, but the first one was 35 years ago in 1988, also in Boston. So it was kind of interesting to see the differences. And I ran into somebody on the elevator that had been to that conference also. But we had 3 other folks from Holton that went, folks that are involved on our downtown group. We don't have a formal board yet. But it was great to see the energy that developed in them about the possibilities for the downtown organization. For me personally, it's always about the people, and it was great to get to know some of the folks from Maine better, as well as folks from other states, share ideas over lunch or in the evening, and just come back energized with all of the ideas and things that you can do. And our group of 4 did get together afterwards to talk about ideas and start, thinking of ways to move forward. So it was a wonderful experience, and so thankful that I was able to be there, and happy to meet so many of you in person rather than just the square on the screen.
Love that. It was so great getting to see connections being made between Mainers, and someone else had echoed. I can't remember if it was I think it might have been in response to one of these emails that, finally there were other people that were speaking our language. So often so much of our job is like explaining what we do and trying to make people understand what it is we do. And that just took it off the table. So immediately you could really dive into more juicy
I just
stuff.
want to add, when I was at the Chamber, I used to go to things like this, and we always used to relate it to, you felt like you were going to Oz because all the people there knew what you were talking about. And then you come home and you try and explain it. People are like, what? You went where? You saw who? So,
what were you doing?
Yeah.
Who else has got some takeaways to share? Thanks, EJ. Let's do EJ and then we'll do PME. Thanks.
Sure. EJ Roach, Economic Development Director for the City of Old Town. We only have a downtown committee. We've been talking for the past year about applying to be a Maine downtown affiliate. So attending this conference solidified in my mind that we're going in the right direction. The conference was great, having worked with Sylvie and Anne, all the things, it makes sense. The energy was great. It was great to connect with others from Maine at the opening session and at the reception. So that was really great. Couple of things that I took away. I'm a full-time staff for the city. So we have the city support. It's understanding how to build your volunteer boards and your volunteer support. So the sessions that talked about the structure and being specific and how to organize your volunteers was really a great takeaway. Because that's where we're at. We have a lot of people that like to show up and talk about doing things, but to take that next step and have the volunteers that can do it with or without me there, or helping lead the charge. So that was really great. And then the idea of how manufacturing can how you can develop a brand around manufacturing in your downtown or community. Really hit home. I met other people from across the country. And when I said I was from Old Town, the first thing out of their mouth was, "Oh, you guys make Old Town canoes." So we're trying to take advantage of that brand. And how do we go beyond just canoes? We make things in Old Town. So trying to use that as a way to launch some of our efforts and let people outside of Old Town know what we do. So it was really great. And my goal is to bring more than myself to Alabama next year for the conference. So it'll be Old Town +1 next year.
I love that. Love that. Tangible goals. That's the best thing. Thanks, EJ. Tammy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tamara Whitmore with Gardner Main Street, and I think went with a little bit different lens, only because I'd only been with the organization for 6-7 weeks before going to the conference. But the first thing I sort of took away was or I just sort of felt, was that I've been at conferences with scientists and with educators, and Main Street people are a whole lot of fun. It's definitely, it's kind of a different culture, I think, which is kind of not that the other people aren't, nice and fun, but that very much just very, gregarious, and, you met everybody pretty much, easily. So that was really cool. And I also realized that there's so much variety in the different types of organizations that are throughout the country. And yet I still heard the same issues, the same challenges, the same experiences from this myriad different types of organizations. So I thought that was very interesting. Probably the biggest thing that I sort of learned, because I really focused on going to the sort of the general, the most basic of workshops, so that I could really, that's what I needed to have at this point. I really learned that using the transformation strategies is really, you can use that as a guide for your strategic planning, so that you can set your priorities for whatever time period. And then you can say, okay, when other people bring you great ideas, you're like, that's great. We're going to talk about that when we do our next strategic planning, but that doesn't fit in our plan right now. So because there's no shortage of people's good ideas. So that was probably the most useful thing that I came out with.
I love that, Tammy. Anybody else? Let's see. Some folks were there and some folks weren't. So any takeaways? Either Mary, Amanda, you want to share, or Jennifer?
Jennifer has her hand up.
Thanks, Jennifer. Go ahead.
So we're still in the exploring stages here in the city of Auburn. So I wanted to come and check it out and see what it was all about. I focused on more creating downtown destination using public art. Public art falls under my purview here at the city of Auburn, as well as just some other kind of community engagement pieces. What I did to share out with the communications director was in our shared folder, all the materials that I got from the conference, I moved everything into a shared folder so people could access that. I shared it with the communications director as well as our economic development director. And I emailed them both and said, hey, here are the workshops I went to, here were the highlights. And here's the share folder. Happy to meet if we want to meet in person and debrief. There was some great information. I also do events for the city here. So information about setting clear expectations for volunteers was a good one for me to hear as far as how to wrangle that, because I always say I need volunteers, but what exactly do I want them to do? And making sure that I'm more clear, I guess, on I know what I want them to do, but I need to tell them what I want them to do. And making sure I kind of set them up for success and kind of, I don't want to say over communicate, but make sure I'm communicating enough with those volunteers. And then I also met a wonderful woman who had talked about activating empty lots using sheds, and I shared with her our Christmas Village experience that we had in Festival Plaza using custom sheds. So we shared some photos. We had a great conversation about that. So I thought it was great, definitely inspiring. I'm trying to push the team forward to continue to look for this and get at least an informational meeting scheduled with kind of the right group of people. So I'm trying to cultivate that group.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Jennifer. We're looking forward to it. We're here for you. Good work. Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, I have kind of the same as from Jennifer from Auburn. It was a little overwhelming. We are headed to a Main Street Main. The city manager in Sanford has already said that this is one of our goals. It's just being able to put all those pieces together. And I'm not sure if I walked away with more questions than answers, just because there are so many ways to structure, and there are so many, and even though there are many different structures, it does seem like some of the problems and some of the issues are actually the same across the board for everybody. There was a couple of things that I took away just because we already have a downtown group. It's called Friends of Downtown. And there is so much stuff going on in Sanford. It's unbelievable right now, with the RAISE grant and with Wind Development just getting their plan approved for a 96 unit mill development. And I already have a full-time job in economic development. So it's just getting all those pieces together. We do have a lot of retail downtown Sanford that's vacant. I loved that the tour pour and restore, that one of the sessions that I went to. I'm thinking, what a great way to open up all the downtown at one time and have people see that. So I did take away some events that Friends of Downtown may be able to use. And thank you, Amanda, for the bath, the gift of bath. I thought that was awesome. Trying to figure out how we can do that in Sanford would be great, because a lot of our downtown businesses are overlooked. So there just is, there's a lot of stuff going on. I love the conference. I haven't had a debriefing yet. Our board meeting is Tuesday. So I put all my notes together. I know what I'm going to present to the board. I'm going to talk a little bit about this meeting and about what actually Main Street Maine can do for us, about trying to get all those thoughts into the bucket and trying to that's a great help too. So we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel as individual towns. We have somebody that helps. So a lot I took away. It was huge. It was a huge crowd. I don't think I ever got back to one person one time. I would meet someone, I'd go, oh, I'd love to talk about that. And then in the sea of people, I would never see them again. And even when I went to the Main Street, with the main thing we had over at Eva, I couldn't believe walking into that room and seeing that many people. I thought that was going to be a more intimate group, but it was just a ton of people. So thank you, everyone.
May I ask Mary a question very quickly? You used to have a Main Street community in Sanford. You were a Main Street program. Because I go back almost 11 years.
Yes, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's nice to see that you're coming back into the fold.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened exactly with that group. Depends on who you talk to. But Sanford is certainly ready to have a Main Street Main program again. And and that's what I'm working towards. That's what I've been tasked with. So.
Thanks so much, Mary. Sorry, everyone. My internet is saying it's unstable. Scott, a co-host, can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? I'm going to
I can hear you, Sylvie.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we can hear you. You are going in and out a little bit, and feel free
Okay.
to me co-host if you need to.
Okay. Yeah, I think I did. Hopefully you
Okay.
got that. Awesome. Well, thanks for this debrief. Is there anyone else who wants to have any share outs? Angie, I don't know if you heard the prompt. Really, it was 2 takeaways from the conference. And if you wanted to share any kind of strategy of how you're debriefing it, because, you know, we come away with all these great ideas and then reality hits. So feel free to share.
I'll chime in.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped on late. I tried to connect from my car and my internet was very unstable as well. So I think, you know, hats off to you, Mary, for, you know, organizing all your thoughts, because we had our board meeting last night and we're, you know, checking off some stuff. And then I go, oh yeah, the conference. And we, you know, totally failed to even put it on the agenda because in an old job of mine, I actually was the trade show person. So I'd be at the trade show handing stuff out. And, you know, I'm realizing like I haven't even opened any of the information I gathered from visiting the exhibit booths. It's just still on my desk because you get back and then you're just back at it. So debriefing, I mean, I feel like you really have to sum it up in such a short amount of time. I mean, you could really spend a whole day kind of sharing all this information with your board. So, you know, key takeaways. I loved meeting all of you guys. I loved the time after the conference where we could just all hang out and shoot ideas off of each other and sing karaoke and send heart-eyed mouse emoji to everybody. But as a first-time director, it was a lot to take in. To echo other people, I think it's good to know that everybody is kind of feeling the same things, no matter where you are in the country. So you know that's kind of good to know that you know it's not just your city that might be going through that. And you know we'll just probably pinpoint a couple of the presentations and kind of move forward with them. I really like the one regarding kind of figuring out what kind of leader you are and how you want to, you know, form your strategic plan if that's not already in place. So definitely a lot of things to grab and move forward with. Just picking the ones to really focus on will take some time, I think. But overall, I loved it. It was great. I can't wait till next year.
Awesome. Thanks, Angie. Anybody else want to share anything else from the conference? And Cassie, since you're joining us too, do you just want to give oh, sorry, who was that?
I was just going to ask a question of the group, but I'll wait until you're done.
Well, thanks. Okay, so let me just give Cassie, do you want to just give an intro quick since you're a newer face on the screen?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry. Same thing. Tried to connect outside and didn't work. So
yep, no problem.
But yeah, so I am the president of the Monson Collaborative. We are volunteer based. Our town is super small. So I didn't get to go to this conference, but I have reached out to some people who have gone. So also, like everything you guys are saying, I just like want to write down and absorb. So if you guys do have things where you're structured and going over what you learned and stuff like that, I would love to, you know, steal that information from you just so I know what avenues that you guys were searching. But it sounds like it was super amazing for you guys. And yeah, so I'm very excited to go to Alabama next year as well. I'm the new president of the Monson Collaborative, which is we were the first with Skowhegan and Lisbon, I think, that got the initial downtown funding. And
for the entrepreneurship ecosystem project, just to
yep. Yeah, exactly.
Connect that for folks.
Yeah, so we're just here trying to we're all completely volunteer based. So we're trying to you know, run our downtown so that we're helping the town so that these can be more permanent positions that really influence and help out entrepreneurs and our growth and stuff like that. And then we recently had we have a new town manager too. So now that the winter is over, we're very excited to get back into action.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Cassie. And I think that's a great idea. If you all, want to copy and paste and send out your board report that has notes about this, or if you end up putting anything, pen to paper in terms of debriefs from the conference, feel free to send that to me or Anne and or the group here, but we could send that out to everyone because I love that idea of just keeping the sharing going. And Cara, what was your question?
Well, my question is just, and I'm sure that most of you, probably experienced this, but at the beginning of your years, you probably kind of figure out, what the organization goals are with, sort of setting, work directives and things like that for both the board and if you have staff, executive director. But I'm wondering what sort of were people's, the things that they thought they were prioritizing for the year, were they sort of turned upside down? Or were there other ones that maybe bubbled to the top because, maybe you experienced, talking with another community and perhaps they had a couple of wonderful ideas that you could implement. And so it sort of helped reprioritize things. And maybe just to give, examples, from our situation is that I had been sort of talking a lot with our board about historic preservation and how our downtown doesn't have a designated district. And after the conference, the board was like, oh my goodness, yes, that is definitely, now we get it, because there was so much talk about historic preservation. And then the other thing too was sort of creating more support structure for our downtown businesses for the different opportunities that, that we're able to provide to the businesses and kind of trying to plug into what the business needs are. And so I was just wondering if for anybody in the group, if things changed for them or what were the themes that kind of came up for them that they wanted to go home and apply to their downtown.
Great question. Anybody jump in?
I'll comment on that one. I think the strategic plan, I think that word gets bounced around a lot, but really having, like a 5-year plan, what is it that we want to see accomplished? And then kind of that way to say no falls in line with the strategic plan. So if somebody comes to you and says, oh, I think this is a great idea, and you go, yeah, it is a great idea, but at this time it doesn't fall in our strategic plan. And you can kind of relieve yourself from taking on any more tasks. But Saco needs that, so that was a good one.
Thanks, Deb.
One of the strangest things I heard, and it was at the roundtable with executive directors who have been there in their positions for more than 5 years. One director said that they only host an event for 3 years max. Doesn't matter if it's successful, unsuccessful, or whatever. They pass it on. I go, you got to be kidding me. And everyone else was kind of astounded as well. If you've got something that's going well and it makes money, why would you give it up? But it was kind of interesting. And the fiduciary responsibility of the board, we went to a bylaws workshop and the presenter said, you have to do that. I'm going, no, you don't have to do anything like that. I get more work and time and effort out of my board. I am not going to say, oh, by the way, can you write us a check for whatever you feel you can give? Never, not it. So there's so many different ways of running your program. And I think that is really important to note as well. We have a lot of similarities, but we have a lot of differences, but I think our goals are all the same.
Thanks, Deb. That's great. Good examples. Anyone else want to respond to Cara's question?
Yeah, it's not totally related, but to Deb's point too, being able to communicate with communities of similar size sometimes helps, because what works in a big city might not work in a small town. And that hit home for us in the program about the eclipse, because we're on the path of totality. And the community that presented was a community about the same size as ours. So we were really able to gather a lot of information and made some contacts for some sources of money. So for a very
Great.
personalized activity, that helped. It was something we were already working on, so it didn't change priorities, but it did solidify things and give us some more ideas. So that was great.
Excellent. Anything else anyone wants to either chime in with in terms of responding or any?
Sylvie, something I
Closing
thought of
thoughts, yeah.
when Mary was talking. I've gone back on the app and I don't know if that's available to somebody that didn't attend. But
Oh,
there were
yeah.
so many sessions that you couldn't get to all the ones that you wanted to get to. So I went back and looked to see if some of the ones I was interested in had the slides out there and downloaded some information to the sessions that I didn't go to. So if there were
Great.
topics somebody was interested in, that might be a source. And if they can't get in there, if they didn't attend, maybe feed that through you guys. And I don't think it's going to be out there forever because they keep sending emails out that like, check it while it's available.
That's
But
right. There's a
there's
deadline.
there's some good info out there.
If I could add to that, I went in and went to not all of the presentations from the app, but some of them, and not all of them uploaded, which felt kind of unfortunate because I heard of some that were really good and I just didn't get to it, so I wanted to see. But anyhow, I did go in and download about 50 presentations,
I did
and
too.
some had multiple. So if anybody would just like that link, I could put it on, a Google Drive and just send it out to everybody. And then, of course, the unfortunate thing is, some slides are not that informative. So it's just like, one worded. So the presenter knew what to talk about. So I was kind of looking at it like, well, that's not really that helpful. So I have those. I can share those.
Angie, please do. If you want to send that
yeah.
to me, I'll send that link out with notes from this meeting.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
everyone
perfect.
gets it.
And then two things I thought of about the conference is that I think somebody else mentioned this, but next year I would definitely want to try to bring board members and then also try to get city officials of some level to attend, whether it's our economic development director or, a city councilor or just anything like that, because I think there were so many great points that sometimes you just can't take back and articulate as well as if they just heard it in person. So if you could get those people to hear it and then, really be an advocate for you, because the energy is there too. You see all these people from across the country doing, all like-minded people. So if they can feel that energy and the excitement that we all have and also gain that knowledge and then bring it back to, the city administrator, the mayor, whoever didn't make it, I think that would be really valuable. So we're gonna shoot for that for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I won't cut off the conversation, but I want to just prompt our closing exercise. And I want you to think about one or two like action items, one or two things that you can do, like even starting next week, to put something in motion that was like a takeaway from the conference. It could be a very like minutia detail of like, this is going to make my life easier, or it could be a bigger, consideration of, a new transformational strategy for next year, or whatever it is. But are there some action items? And I want you to think about it before we close. If you can pop it in the chat, because we know that exercise of like having an action item and then actually writing it down makes us that much more likely to do it and have that as an actionable takeaway. So don't feel like you have to put it in quite yet, but I want to plant that seed in terms of any kind of thing you can put into action from the conference or from this discussion. And then another piece I'll mention, Angie, just going off of what you said, that, sometimes the slides are helpful. Sometimes the slides weren't there. Feel free, if you need help contacting a presenter, or like Cassie, if you see, ooh, these slides were really helpful, but I want to learn a little more. Feel free to use Ann or I to help get contact information for a presenter, because they're probably on the point. And if you're on the point, the Main Street America kind of online network sharing site, that's a great place to go to get to connect with someone. But we can also contact our folks at Main Street American. Someone probably has a contact information for the presenter or someone at their Main Street or organization. So feel free to use us in that way as well. But any closing thoughts? I love it. I've seen some of the action items coming already into the chat. Yes, Bill.
Just a couple of comments. The comment about giving up events at the end of 3 years, I find just incredible. I've been in this business for almost half a century, and our rule of thumb is it takes 3 years to establish an event. I see Deb shaking her head, and she knows it very well. So please don't get to thinking that you should quit after 3 years, because it's a good event takes at least 3 years to get well established and to produce what you would really like to have it produce. The other thing I want to mention before it goes away is Mary's question about Sanford. We were consulting in Sanford before Main Street. So Jane and I have a lot of background in Sanford, and we would be glad to share it, although we're not particularly mobile these days due to age, but we still have all those memories in place, and we would more than glad to help in Sanford. That's all I got.
Thanks, Bill. I love that. And just know you've got everyone's contact info here too. So after I send out notes from this meeting, you'll see folks' emails there. So feel free to reach out directly to someone if you've got individual questions or want to connect. Any other closing thoughts? We still have some time here. Any questions for the group? And it could be related to the conference or, off topic if someone's just got something they wanted to pick everyone's brain with. I love seeing the action items coming through the chat too.
Nancy, I just want to tell.
Oh, you go, Cara.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, ask for any kind of helpful advice because you guys might have done this kind of stuff already. Monson has an entrepreneurial expo going on May 6th. And so we're giving away $12,000 in micro grants to entrepreneurs in the area. We've had a lot of good press with it so far. The Bangor Daily News just wrote an article about it, and we're making the parameters kind of loose because we want to get as much community engagement as possible. And so if you guys have any helpful learning curves that you learned while doing something similar, I would love to sit down with you or just pick your brain, even over email, any kind of helpful just helpful stuff. We've basically, it's like you come, you do a 5-minute pitch, and then the town or the attendees all get to vote on who the micro grants go to. So we know that like there's going to have to be some structure added, but for this first round, we hope to make this an annual event and then piggyback off of that. So we have like financial institutions coming and stuff like that. Like all of the winners get a business consultation with like CEI. We also have Piscataquis or Penquis Financial Services is also coming. So I think we have like the right people, but I think if anyone has suggestions on how to actually get people to apply for grants, even ones that are super easy, I would love to hear any kind of helpful hints you have there.
I see some head nods. Folks want to know the answer to that too.
I was just thinking, I don't know if you could just kind of like an informational session or something, some kind of way to bring people together. You put them in a room and let them know, kind of give a presentation about what you guys are trying to do or something. I'm just thinking we're trying to do like a, what do we call it? I don't know why I can never remember this. Main Street Matters. It's like a way for businesses to get together after hours and just kind of chat about what's going on Main Street, you know, what they're going through, how we can help. It hasn't happened in a while, but we're trying to get those back together. But that would be an opportunity for us to utilize, you know, a group of people in a room and kind of offer programs, what's available, any grants that are around. So that would be my first thought.
Thanks, Angie. That's a great idea. Info sessions, spell it out for folks how easy it is to apply. Step 1, 2, 3. Anybody else have any ideas for Cassie on their great upcoming event? You've got a lot of great moving parts there.
Cassie, is that part of your entrepreneur ecosystem funds? Is that you're doing that, or just something separate that came up after that?
It wasn't a part of the initial, it was part of like moving forward. Yeah, but yeah, that's where the grant money came from. And one of the things that I tried to do is reach out to the schools so that the schools are participating, because we wanted young entrepreneurs. I just don't know how to force them to like, yeah.
Although
But yeah,
sometimes the money is an incentive. We did an entrepreneur challenge here a few years ago, and the first event we had to start the process was packed because people saw the dollar signs. It whittled through because we made them do business plans, but
right. Yeah, that was like originally we were going to set like it was you either had to have an established business and like 2 years of taxes, or you had to have a business plan set up. And then we knew how intimidating that would be for like just to get people through the door kind of thing. So we tried to make it as loose as possible, especially because they're like micro grants. And then that's why we added on the business consultation with CEI, because you might have a great idea, but you don't know how to get it, like bring it to fruition. But like, we also don't want to give someone, you know, $2,000 for their like food truck or whatever, and they don't have anything else put in place, or no, like they just have a concept. So that's really great. Like, I'm glad that you had such good turnout, but that's probably what we're going to be facing.
yeah,
too.
we probably ended up with, you know, 6 to 9 entries when it came to that point. But we worked with SBDC, and they set up appointments, and the SBDC director helped them develop their business plans, and then they submitted that with their application. Worked out really well.
Oh, great. Awesome. That's really good to hear. That's like, we have 6 applicants right now, but I was like worried that like wasn't necessarily enough. So that just putting that number in my head makes me feel better. Thank you.
Yeah, I read about it in the paper. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cassie, Cassie, I just want to say one thing. We've been doing our downtown grants program now for not 3 consecutive years, but we've done it 3 times. And each year we've doubled the number of applicants. So the first year we had 12, next year we had 24, then this year we had 36 or something like that. But my point to that is like, I think if you can commit to, as Bill was saying earlier, if you can commit to that, sort of figure out how to, you know, keep making it will naturally grow if you can keep doing it year after year. So the numbers will come even if you don't have the first, you know, a high number of applicants the first year. It will naturally grow. But I think that you guys are onto something with having it be in person. Ours has always just been a Google form application. Folks fill it out, and then it's sort of a kind of a passive thing, but I'm glad that you brought this up because I think that needs to be our reboot for 2024. So thank you.
Yeah, we actually have it being potluck style, because like the community just does like getting together in general. So like my whole like hope is that everyone just comes to hang out anyway, and then they get to vote. Like, and then that way, like people aren't like, oh, they gave the grants out to their friend, or like who, like there's like, you guys voted, this is what you wanted. But that's awesome. It's really, thank you. That's great to hear. I think using Google Forms and even having the virtual side is a really, really great way to expand to more people too.
That's great. This is
Sounds like a blast.
great advice. Yeah, right. Excellent. Any other, anything else in response to Cassie, or just closing thoughts? Anything else anyone wanted to mention to this group? Feel free to pop those action items in the chat if you haven't yet, if that's motivating. And if you did write something in the chat, you can write it on a post-it on your desk. You come back to it Monday morning and remember it.
I do have a question for Cassie and Cara actually. So for those grants that you're doing, do they then end up in a like a storefront on your main street, or what's the? I know you mentioned food truck, so that that's. I'm just thinking we don't have a lot of open spaces, so like, where are they ending up? I guess.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we don't necessarily have that much downtown property available for rent and everything. We had like the Libra Foundation bought up a lot of that, but we do have the general store, and they pick up, whatever kind of made crafts that we like if someone wanted a small business like that. And then we also partnered with Moosehead Marketplace and Destination Moosehead. So with that, like the makers that's kind of like on the secondary, like once they get the grant, we can show them where to sell their products and how to market and that kind of stuff. And then a lot of ours, like we have a photographer who just put in a studio for her high-end clientele on her 23 acres, and she's also doing glamping there. And then like I actually have a bakery that's opening this summer, and it's also going to double as a community kitchen. So I don't want employees. You basically start your own LLC, and then you can sell your products out of there, kind of thing. So there are like other opportunities. And like we want to not necessarily hold your hand through that, but we want to be as helpful as we can with the distribution if you do have an idea. So I want to say it's something that we haven't necessarily gotten there yet, but definitely want to help with whatever we can. And then that's the great thing about the expo is like you're coming with your pitch. So like I don't care if it's like a high school student that made a new drone, like you're bringing that drone and there's people that are going to see it, and from there like you'll be able to figure out how to market that and everything else. Like, so
really cool. Writing that down. Love it.
And Cara, do you want to give a quick recap on your downtown grant? And then we'll close out.
Yeah, ours, one thing that we've done, and I don't know if other towns have done this or not, but we really focused on trying to educate our downtown businesses and area entrepreneurs on the difference between community banks and big banks. And that community banks are very structured in wanting to be a part of their community and give back to their community, and are there when you need to go into the branch or the person that's at the teller line, different than sort of, I don't even know, a big corporation banks like Bank of America or something like that. So we were trying to really get the community to understand the difference, because a lot of times business owners are just normal people in the community, don't think about banks being sort of different, and ones that invest in their community and others that don't. And we also really structured on trying to get all of the community banks in our town to give a certain amount of money to be able to structure the program. So the first year, I think we had 4 banks. And then this past year, our third year, we had 6 banks. So it was really exciting to see all the bank logos, because a lot of times banks don't want to play in the same sandbox in a good way. So we were excited for that. And we were really excited that the banks saw the vision. And then once we were able to sort of collect all of the money, most of the businesses that applied, I would say, were brick and mortar businesses. But this past year, we had a lot of entrepreneurs that are either working in second and third story spaces in their downtown. And then we had some other people who were sort of more virtual, but everybody is sort of taking the money, and we had 3 different applications this year for people who were looking to teach workshops. We were like, there's a theme here. Like, people are really looking to sort of create experiences when people come downtown, not just, come in, purchase something and leave. So that back end education, though, I would say has been really helpful in getting our area entrepreneurs to understand the difference. And that was the primary focus. And I'm happy to send anyone sort of our final reports from downtown grants past years, and any information that would be helpful on how we've structured it.
Yeah, I'd love to see that if you don't mind.
Sure thing.
Looks like Cassie too. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for the sharing and the continuing the energy from Main Street, and hope that, you know, you can just hold on to those couple nuggets and keep moving those forward, because you know, you all have big jobs, so hopefully those nuggets can just make things, you know, that much better or easier. And don't forget to delegate, because you shouldn't be doing it alone. You use the other folks that are in this with you. It was great to see you all. I hope you enjoy this beautiful Friday and weekend, and take good care. And we also hope to see you down at the annual awards that we'll be having in Brunswick on April 26th. And then a reminder, we've got our board roles and responsibilities training that Maine Association of Nonprofits is putting on the morning of the 27th. So if you haven't registered for that yet, feel free to reach out to me and I can get you the link, or go on and sign up for it. That'll be the virtual. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.